The streets of Damascus fell silent on December 8, 2024. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, who had clung to power through years of brutal civil war, had fled to Moscow. The fall of the Assad regime marked a pivotal moment in the history of Syria and the Middle East. The world watched stunned as the seemingly invincible Assad Dynasty crumbled. The swiftness of Assad's downfall was as surprising as it was absolute. Just weeks earlier, he had appeared firmly in control, his forces having regained most of the country. He had even rejoined the Arab League, basking in a rehabilitated image, but the seeds of his demise had already been sown. A resurgent opposition, emboldened by years of resistance, launched a lightning offensive in late 2024. Caught off guard and weakened by years of war, Assad's forces crumbled. To understand Assad's fall, one must delve into his family's history. Hafez al-Assad, Bashar's father, seized power in a bloodless coup in 1970. A member of the Alawite minority, Hafez navigated Syrian politics with ruthlessness and cunning. He consolidated power through brute force and strategic patronage, installing loyalists in key positions. Dissent was crushed with an iron fist. Hafez positioned Syria as a key player in the Arab-Israeli conflict, exploiting the rivalry to bolster his standing. He forged alliances with the Soviet Union and later Russia, ensuring a steady stream of weapons and financial aid. When Hafez died in 2000, his son Bashar inherited the mantle of leadership. Educated in Britain, Bashar initially raised hopes for reform, speaking of openness and modernization. However, any hopes for a Syrian spring were dashed as Bashar reverted to his father's authoritarian playbook. Opposition figures were silenced, the media remained tightly controlled, and the security services continued to operate with impunity. The seeds of discontent sown during Hafez's rule began to sprout anew. Then came the Arab Spring of 2011, a wave of popular uprisings that swept across the Arab world. Syria too was caught in the maelstrom. What began as peaceful protests quickly escalated into a full-blown civil war as Assad's forces responded with brutal force. The conflict drew in regional and international actors, transforming Syria into a battleground for proxy wars. The Syrian civil war raged on for years, claiming hundreds of thousands of lives and displacing millions. The country was plunged into chaos, its infrastructure decimated, its economy in ruins. Assad, backed by his foreign allies, gradually regained control of most of the country, but at a horrific cost. His victory, however, proved to be short-lived. The December 2024 offensive exposed the fragility of his regime. With Russia preoccupied with its war in Ukraine and Iran facing its own challenges, Assad found himself increasingly isolated. His flight from Damascus marked the end of an era, but it also ushered in a period of profound uncertainty for Syria. The country remains deeply divided, its social fabric shredded by years of conflict. The challenges ahead are immense: rebuilding infrastructure, healing the wounds of war, and forging a new political settlement.